Hello again, seventh grade. Here we are back at the nonfiction reading about reading. I read this article aloud, and now I'm going to scroll down to the next page to go over the questions. I will not be giving you the answer to these questions. I will simply be going over the questions out loud and explaining how I, as a reader, would go about answering them, but I will not give you the answers. So number one, which best expresses the main idea of the second paragraph? Well, right away in that question, my mind is drawn to the main idea. So this is a main idea question. The main idea, just as a review, is what something is mostly about. Now, it doesn't ask me what the main idea of the entire article is, just the second paragraph. So if it's asking me which best expresses the main idea of the second paragraph, I have to ask myself, what is the second paragraph mostly about? Is it reading is exciting? It might be. Age affects the body in many ways. Reading strengthens your mind. Or working out keeps your body in shape. How I would go about answering this question is I would go back up to the second paragraph and reread the second paragraph and ask myself, what is this paragraph mostly about? Hmm? I would reread it and then I'd go back and make a decision. Is it A, B, C, or D? Just so you know, when I was reading this last night by myself, I had to go back several times and reread parts of the article in order to get the correct answers. And I'm really good at reading, so you should definitely be doing this. Let me just go over a few more questions. Why does the author think that you should read books that are boring? So really, this is more of a perspective question. Why does the author think you should read books that are boring? Now, I remember the author mentioning this in one of the paragraphs. If I recall, I'm pretty sure, boom, it's right here. So I would go back and reread this paragraph, which is paragraph 4. Sorry about the technical issues, students. There we go. I would go back and reread this because the author tells me in this paragraph why the author thinks they should read books that are boring. Let's look at question 3. Which best expresses the main idea of the third paragraph? Wow, we just did a question like this for question 1. So the main idea is what a text is mostly about, and it's telling me to look at the third paragraph. So I would go back up and I would reread the third paragraph. And I would ask myself, what is this third paragraph mostly about? Again, I'm not going to tell you. Question 4. Which is not a reason given by the author why students fail to complete reading assignments? Well, I actually remember that the author begins the article with a bunch of reasons on why kids don't complete their reading assignments, and that can be found here. So the answer to question 4 can be found right there. All right. 5. Which best expresses the author's main purpose in writing this text? So this is another main idea question, because main idea or main purpose, but now the author's asking you, well, the question is asking you, what's the overall main idea of the entire article? All those paragraphs, what do they add up to? If you had to summarize this article into one sentence, is it A, B, C, or D? Number 6. Which best describes the author's tone in the first 3 sentences? Wow. So if you remember what tone is, it's not just what the author is saying, it's how they're saying it. And does the author seem surprised by their word choice? Is the author sarcastic with their word choice? Is the author more informative? Or is the author irate? And irate is another word for being angry or frustrated. But right here in the sentence, in the question, it says for you guys to go back and look at the first 3 sentences. So what I would do is I would scroll back up and I would just read those first 3 sentences over and over again until I figured out what I think it was. All right, let's go down to the next question. Remember, I'm not giving you the answers to these questions. I'm just showing you how I would go about answering them. And it does involve a lot of rereading. Question 8. Which is not one of the author's arguments in the 5th paragraph? Well, I think what they mean by argument is what's one of the reasons that the author gives to read. So 3 of these reasons is something that the author mentions, but one of them is not. But again, I love how these questions keep giving us clues to go back into specific paragraphs. So the 5th paragraph, I'd go up. I don't have a physical copy, so I'm not able to number my paragraphs like I usually do. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So paragraph 5. I would look in here for the evidence to answer that question, question number 8, which is not one of the author's arguments in the 5th paragraph. Reading gives you a broader perspective on the world. Reading changes the way that you understand the world. Reading helps prepare for your job in the real world. Reading teaches you about distant lands and cultures. So 3 of 4 of these are mentioned. So which one is not mentioned? All right, question number 9. Why does the author believe that reading is good for your mind state? It has a calming effect, it can help relax, it can lower your stress levels, or D, all of these. Well, I do remember the author mentioning some of those things. I believe it was mentioned in the last paragraph. So I would go back and double check to see if all those were mentioned or if one of those were mentioned specifically, and I would check there to make sure that my answer was correct. Finally, question number 10. Which title best expresses the main idea of this text? So I like this question. It's kind of like a critical thinking question where you have to go, hey, this is what the article's mostly about, and I can summarize it like this, so this would be a good title for it. And here are the choices. Good for the mind in many ways, maybe. The key to a successful academic future, improve your vocabulary while being entertained, or D, the best way to improve your writing skills. Now you got to think, all these would make good titles, right? But which one is the most correct? Because some of these might only reference one part of the article. Like maybe something was only mentioned in paragraph 2. Maybe something was only mentioned in paragraph 1 and 3. But which one of these titles would be a good title for any one of those paragraphs? That's the trick to this question. Okay, I'm going to end this video on the multiple choice questions, and I will be back with the open-ended questions.